We are live now. It is streaming and it's working just fine. So it's just a little complicated to realize that what I'm watching and what you're seeing is going to be a little bit different for a sec there. So let's hope these things start going. Anyway, yes, there we go. See,
It's going.
now. Oh, it's got an ad on there first, of course. So YouTube's all about the ad stuff. Anyway. So we realized that not a lot of our patrons and members can get on these live feeds all the time. So we want to do these occasionally, at least once a month, where it's just time for members to have a chance to chat and say hi. I see Hops on there. David from Freezing UK. Dude, you didn't have to get up this early.
It's really early.
I have your questions listed over here, so we're gonna go through some of yours, buddy. So I hope it is popping up and you're catching up and stuff like that.
Let's get those answered for him so he can go back to bed.
Yeah, so we're gonna answer your questions there, buddy.
It's freezing here too. It is rainy. It has been gray and rainy and cold since the day we got home from Aruba. I've not seen the sun since then, and I'm really missing it.
It's rain and cold, and with a little more coldness and stuff.
Yeah.
But Hop, you asked a few David, you asked a few questions. Hey guys, hey BB, good to see you, buddy. Another awesome guy. If you look up in Island Window, if you're looking for another YouTube channel to check out, he does a nice job focusing on business travel and stuff. So might be a channel to check out if you're looking. So trying to help out some of our other YouTubers out there too. But Hop, I know it's too early. I want you to get back to sleep. So we're gonna answer some of your questions first. You wrote me, and I actually did answer some of these in the Patreon site and stuff like that, or on the members feed. And so I kind of want to go through some of these because some people don't get these. So David had written, hey Mark, do you have a favorite seat position on a plane or any you would always avoid? So for me, I'm all about getting an aisle seat. I don't care if it's an aisle seat in economy. I'll take an aisle seat in economy over a middle seat anywhere in a plane. Even if it's like Comfort Plus or business class or something like that, because I just like having that extra room on the side, just to keep me going.
I disagree. I actually like the window because I can put my head against something and fall asleep. Also, I like to be able to look out and kind of see things every now and then. But I too will avoid a middle seat even if it's in Comfort Plus, the like Economy Plus, whatever. But if it's a middle and it's in business or first, I'm taking it. If I get upgraded to first, I'm taking it. I don't care.
I guess there really isn't really a middle first anymore.
There isn't really ever a middle anymore, right? Yeah, there's only ever two. But I'll take that. I'm not picky. And I'll take an aisle. I'm okay with it. But my preference is the window.
Yeah, so there we go. So there's that. Now, your other question, this is actually a really good one. I actually did a video on this about traveling with medicine. Actually, no, it was more about your carry-on bags. But another question is also, how do you deal with traveling with essential medicines? Is there something we need to avoid, misunderstands, or entry to countries? Here's one of the things you have to realize is different medicines are legal or illegal differently in different countries. It's not just your medicinal marijuana when you go to places when it's not allowed. There's other stuff you have to think about because there's a lot of people that get like you'll hear about in Japan. They're really strict about opioids and painkillers and stuff like that. And there's been a number of business executives who've gotten in trouble because whether they have back pain or maybe they have opioid, I don't know, but they've gotten in trouble for that. So you want to be careful. So what I always say is one, you never pack your prescriptions in your check bags. You always want to have it in your carry-on. So you have it with you just in case, because your bag gets lost. You don't want your heart medication or your whatever,
that's
like
bad stuff.
So you always want to have that with you. Also, if you're worried, like I would leave it in the, your prescription bottle. I'd have that. I know it takes up more space, but with things like that, I think it's too important not to do it.
And like you were saying, there are funny things. Like for instance, in the U.S., cough syrup with codeine is highly regulated. But I can go buy melatonin at Walgreens or Target. It is the opposite in Amsterdam. I tried to get melatonin because I was having a hard time getting back to sleep with jet lag and stuff, and I couldn't get that. But I also had bronchitis, and I went in there. My friends, it was so bad. My friends, there was an ambulance on our street, and they had left, and they came back. And the ambulance was there, and they thought it was for me. That's how sick I was.
I know, like her friends called me, like, she's really bad. We didn't know she's going to be making it back. I'm like, oh my God.
But they got me cough syrup with codeine. I didn't even have to show up at the pharmacy. They just went and bought it. So there are big differences. One country in particular that's really strict about things, and you need to have doctors written stuff, is Japan. I know there's a lot that they won't let in. Even things like Advil it's kind of questionable to them. So you need to be careful with that. And it never hurts to have a little piece of paper from your doctor for anything that you have to take.
Yeah. So Michael Mann, good to see you on here too, buddy. So
Hey,
we got
Michael.
all kinds of good people up on here. So I'm gonna ask, you guys are on. You can ask questions too, so we can do some stuff there.
Tyler Window is a window person. Awesome, dude. I'm glad that I have that
Wait,
question answered.
so your name is a lie?
Yeah, right.
Brent, you're
I'm glad
killing
to
me,
know
buddy.
the answer.
So anyway, some other questions that people have sent to us so far. So Eric Brown is a member. And he says, hey, Mark, can you help me with this itinerary? And this is one thing I like to do because people send us itinerary questions a lot of times. And he says, flying into London, leaving out of Paris, but also going to Prague and Rome, deciding between Amsterdam and Berlin. I was thinking London to Amsterdam or Berlin to Prague to Rome to Paris. What do you think the order should be? Is it good with 5 cities over 15 days? Okay.
That's only 3 days per city.
3 days per city is kind of doable. It's doable.
But you don't really get to have the flavor of it.
Yeah, but if you only got 2 weeks, I can understand how people do that.
I get it.
My issue here is how he had it.
Spread.
Like, it's so spread out because the destinations are so far apart. Like Berlin to Prague, that's a 6-hour train ride, or it's only an hour and a half flight, but then you got an hour and a half before to check in, get to the airport's 45 minutes.
It still ends up being 6 hours.
So
in some respect, when you factor in the wait time at the airport, check-in and all that stuff, and you're driving to and from and all that, it still ends up being 6 hours almost. For me, when I'm looking at this, and Mark will say something different, I'm sure, but I would do like into London and then go to Amsterdam and then possibly fly to Berlin, fly to Berlin and then fly to Paris and come home. But Amsterdam to Paris is a really good train ride. There's a fast one on Thalys, and it's like what, 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
And I've done it several times, and that I've done it on my own. I've done it with Mark. It's an easy, quick ride, but I feel like you could get so much more if you just did Amsterdam, London, and Paris. And you can get
with
small
15 days, I can understand. But if they want to get as much as they can,
I'd get smaller towns around.
This is where, because she would definitely you could do it.
I'd go to Bath. I would, I'd go to Utrecht and I'd go to Giverny and things. I would add in a couple 3 places around each of those major cities and get more of a feel for those 3 countries rather than trying to add in the others.
So have your 3 days in that city, then a day trip for each one of those, or a 2-day trip,
2-day
something
trips,
like that.
Probably.
So
Prague and Rome and Berlin.
Well, the thing is
doable. But the other 2 feel really far flung in that grouping.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking. It's because if they fly to London, I would go London and then I would fly to Rome.
As far away, yeah.
Yeah, and then work your way back. So you have short trips because you fly down to Rome, then you go from Rome up to Prague, and then I would do the train up to Berlin, then fly over to Amsterdam, then train from Amsterdam to Berlin, or to Paris. But that's the thing is I don't like when people waste a lot of time on transportation. Because you don't want to have, unless you're getting like the early morning flight or the red eye fly out, you miss out on stuff.
Mark just made, that was a really good point, is like get to your land in London and then get to your furthest point immediately after and come back and work your way back through. I think you have to prioritize those cities. I'd drop one. That would be me.
Hey, Mr. Dan, good to see you on here, buddy. So I went to Brent. So Brent's saying he's got a trip coming up, London, train to Paris, then train to Rome. That's a long train ride.
That's crazy.
You might look into an EasyJet flight or something like that to go down, or even like an Air France or Italia.
And it might actually be cheaper. We've gotten EasyJet tickets.
Oh no, I would bet
the
train would be a lot cheaper. But but if they can't do the train, then it's okay.
The flight might be cheaper though.
Yeah. So hey, Mark. So Frederick 9603. We were talking about. So we'll talk about some of Mark's stuff here in a bit. Glad I could share all this stuff on here. So that's why you'll notice that some of the people that are popping up over here or over there, depending where you're looking, you'll see the little green button on there. Those are the members on there. Then the other ones popping up are their patrons on Patreon. So this is an unlisted video, so I can get everybody on here because we just want to say thank you to everybody for all your support. It's really, really awesome. So it is really great. So I'm glad you all can get on here. So wherever you are in the world, it's really nice. So Michael Mon, our buddy, thinking about an Amsterdam to Hamburg to Copenhagen trip on trains. Recommendations for a number of days in each. I've actually done. Well, I've done the Hamburg Copenhagen thing. I actually took students between those two towns. We went for 10. Well, we left on Thursday. Got there Friday and we flew back the next Sunday. So we stayed. It was like a 9-day trip. I took a week and a half. I took 18 college students and my parents. So it was like 20 college students because you were here with the kids for spring break one year.
Your parents are college students.
Yeah, they wander off. They're not responsible. I got to remind them what to do. They're part of my ducklings. Yeah. That actually is a doable trip. I'll be honest. The train. I mean, you could probably do a quick flight, but actually, how close that is, you could do the train to Hamburg and then going up to Copenhagen. It's kind of a cool trip. I've done that before, and all those cities are well worth going to. And the thing is, like Amsterdam's a very popular thing for tourists all the time, but Copenhagen and Hamburg aren't. But they're both really cool cities.
But they're worth it.
And when you're in Hamburg, I recommend going to either Lübeck or Lüneburg, and I've got videos in all those places to help you out, buddy. So you have a good time with those. So we'll move on to some more questions. Oh, Ireland window. I see her on here as well. Ding, ding, ding. So, bro's asking, how's your trip home from Aruba? Looks like you got some good rest. So, for this
ATL
in Atlanta, yeah. So Jocelyn had a little nap on the floor.
And if my husband continues to post pictures of me sleeping in random places,
you might not see me on videos.
He's gonna have a foot up his ass. Am I allowed to say that? It's a closed thing. I can say that. Sorry, y'all.
It's not for children. I had to click that.
Aruba was good.
Aruba was. See, we've gone to a few of the Caribbean islands this year.
We've done a lot more than we
ever expected.
Frankly, ever before. In all of our years previous, we've never done. Well, we've done like 4 places now in the Caribbean.
Yeah, in 1 year. In 1 year. So,
so that kind of taints the picture for us. Aruba was cool because it's a really small island, and so you get all the beach time.
It's like 20 miles by 6 miles.
But there's a bunch of stuff to do. Like there's cave paintings, which we actually didn't get to. That was the only thing on our list that we didn't get to. We went to a donkey sanctuary. I like donkeys. We
went saw the natural bridge. We saw the fort this year. Went to the lighthouse. Climbed to the lighthouse.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you go to Aruba, the east side of the island is really wild, and you don't go in the water on the east side because it's not really.
Well, you can't really because you get smashed.
You get smashed into rocks and killed, and so you're on the west side. The west side, the beaches are fantastic. I mean, they are gorgeous. Service was spot on. Food was very good. Like people have to get certified to like work in the food and dining industry there. So like you can't just open up your little thing on the side of the street. So everything's like quite like
everything's
all the
on
rules.
The up and up.
On the up and
it's
up.
Very, very safe.
And the thing is that it's very, very safe. It's very, very expensive as well. Not super expensive.
It's less than Turks and Caicos.
Yeah, definitely less than Turks and Caicos. Actually, I would say the only thing that was really expensive there was actually the restaurant food. Because the hotels were like what I kind of expected. I wasn't really surprised.
It was a little more than what you pay in the States for an average hotel.
But we were there. We were there shoulder season, right before the high season started.
Their high season's like starting this week, and next week probably. And so we were just in that little lull sort of phase, but you wouldn't know it. I felt like it was fairly busy the whole time we were there, especially the weekend. It was.
But what's funny is like. I saw more Pats and Giants fans there than I see in Boston and New York. It was insane.
Lord, New England threw up on Aruba.
Not a bad way. It just was like
I'm just saying
it's just there's just like you would
England.
see like there's Patriot flags flying everywhere and Giants flags. I mean, it was like 1 out of every 5 guys I saw had a Patriot shirt on. Whatever, 6 had a Giants shirt or a tattoo or something like that. It was quite interesting.
It was incredible how many. I mean, you heard more New York, New Jersey. New England generally accents than you do
Aruba. It was pretty cool.
It was wild.
Yeah.
But very. I mean, it was. I felt really comfortable. Like the woman, we got one of those little palapas. It's like a cabana, but not quite.
It's an umbrella made out of reeds.
Yeah. So the lady sitting next to us, she like had her coach bag wide open and stuff all in it, and she and her husband left and went to lunch. For like a couple hours.
Yeah.
I mean,
and no one worried. It was fun. So it was interesting.
Yeah, the fact that she left all of her stuff just sitting there, and I ended up doing that, but mine wasn't like my purse. It was just our our
beach gear,
kids' beach junk that was not worth
my
anything.
script book I was writing my scripts in and stuff.
Yeah.
So
It was a good time.
Yeah, it's worth something to me because I'm like, oh my god, I don't have to go through all this again. What all day I film? Anyway,
but Aruba was good. It was relaxing. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, then we
did
got
the whole island in a day though. I
mean it's like if you're like, because I remember we were like, I don't want to go down to San Nicolas, the end of the island, to go to Baby Beach. I'm like, wait a minute, it's like 25 minutes. I'm like, okay. Which was funny because Baby Beach, if you go there, I mean, it's okay. The beach on the west side are better.
It's great for a kid, though.
Yeah, but the thing is, you stand up, you turn around, and there's a oil refinery right behind the beach. So it's like, okay.
It's not working at the moment, probably because it's Venezuelan or something. I don't know.
Who knows?
It's not Aruban.
Who knows?
The whole thing's kind of weird.
Anyway, moving on to some questions. So, Mr. Dan, 242W, going to Seattle next summer. Cool. I actually really like Seattle. I like Seattle way better than Vancouver, to be honest. Been there once before, but for 2 days, but seeing if you have any recommendations. So there's like a museum of pop culture. It's everything in Seattle is pricey. Just be ready for that. Our 5 Love and Hates. We have a 5 Love and Hates of Seattle and What to Eat in Seattle video. Check those out to help you out. They'll give you a bunch of stuff because it's been a year or so since I've been there. But I really liked it, though. They do have a homeless problem, and like there is an issue there. You will feel uncomfortable in certain spots. But in general, the city was really cool. You had good food. Know that they'll usually like a lot of places automatically put like an 18 to 20% gratuity on anything you order when you go out to eat because they have like the $15 minimum wage. So they just automatically put that on a lot of things.
So you don't have to tip.
No, you didn't. Yeah, well, you don't have to tip then.
The gratuity's included.
Yeah.
You don't have to tip.
So some people were like, the food service was very good, and I still was forced to tip 20%. It was like I could see there was a number of pissed off tourists. There was a number of pissed off tourists that I bumped into. But I liked the Museum of Pop Culture. That was really cool. And taking the little like elevated train to go out to that area where the Space Needle is and stuff. That was kind of neat. They were redoing the Space Needle when I was there, so we couldn't go up there. But if you can go out and like do a little hike, or actually what I liked, we took a ferry across to one of the small towns like out in the Sound and stuff, and that was really kind of a cool thing to do. So that would be something I'd recommend, and I see that some other people have answered some questions in there, and I think that's one thing that's really cool that a lot of you do, because I've seen the names that are on here, and you are people that really do help me when we can't answer all the questions on the live feeds. You guys comment and help other people out. It really means a lot that all of us travelers, that's why it's hey there fellow travelers, is we're all working together.
Doing it together, right?
So that's really cool. Okay, so let's get back to some questions. So Frederick, you'll always be Mark to me, but when you're in Europe, do you get replacement SIM cards for your phones? And if so, which service do you find most reliable, or just a pocket Wi-Fi for my wife and I to share? Okay, so a few things. We actually just use our AT&T plan and get like the $10 a day thing. Unless we're going to some place where I don't think it's really worth it for $10 a day, then we'll do like the $60 for a month. It gives you like 1 gigabyte or something like that. The reason why I do that is because I just like having one number, because then people can contact me if something happens, instead of, because we go to so many different countries. It's like I don't have to get, because I used to have a chip.
We did do that. We did used to switch out.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have a UK card, a Germany card, a Portugal card, multiple Portugal cards, multiple Lithuanian cards, Italy cards, Poland card. My mom's phone has like 15 numbers for me, and it got to be too crazy. So I just had that one and just do that. Now, like next summer, if like Caleb wants to go to a soccer camp, so he has an unlocked phone. So for him, if it's an unlocked phone, I'll get him a Spanish chip so he can call and make friends and save the numbers and stuff like that. But usually I just use my thing. Now, in terms of the pocket Wi-Fi thing, if you're not worried about calls or anything like that, the pocket Wi-Fi, a lot of those are $10 a day for like 5 or 6 devices. Then you could be just fine like that.
We did that in Japan, didn't we? Was it Japan?
No, we did that in Europe. This company has sent me one, and they wanted us. They was like, "Hey, would you do this for us? Then just make a review video." And so they did. They sent it to me and said, "You'll be fine everywhere you go in the world. It's great. You don't have to pay anything." And so I had it connected to my phone. And so I was like, "Oh, well, I don't need to use the data, so I don't have to use the data plans and stuff like that. I'll be great." Well, we went to Russia, and that data plan didn't work there. So you know how your phone will like switch from Wi-Fi to the 4G thing? Well, it was just on 4G, so then I had to like call AT&T and get all the stuff fixed and all those things. And then it wouldn't connect. Like I kept having to call them and be like, "Hey, could you turn it on? Because we're still traveling." And it got to be real a pain in the butt. So make sure you get one that's very reliable. I ended up not doing. I mean, I filmed the video for it, but I'm like, I cannot. I mean, it just would have been videos saying how bad it was, and yeah. So, and it wasn't always bad.
Words, we find that the most reliable and easiest thing to do is just get a plan through your U.S. wireless company, whomever you're using.
Yeah. So Michael, Mom, AT&T has that same thing. From what I understand, T-Mobile actually has a really good international data plan.
Well, T-Mobile's huge in Europe.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like, oh, you're just like on your normal thing because T-Mobile's based out of Germany. So it's just some stuff there for
really
that.
Big. Very easy.
Let's see. Okay, let's see. Moving on to our next question. Michael Mutt. Oh, my goodness. Michael, you're over here too. See, I got the best of everybody on both spots. So this is, this is going back to Mark Finley's question about what's your cutoff time for flights versus driving. And we actually made a video. So, hey, just so you know, if you have questions, members and patrons, send us these questions on there. Because what I want to do, because I want to start filming some of these Q&As I can do for you and kind of make it like a new like Friday kind of extra video kind of thing, like, hey, and it's member question Friday, so I can make like answer your question in a video and say thank you to you if you want to send a picture or something like that of you or your significant other. It's just something, another way that we can say thanks for you. So anyway,
those would be videos we put out for everyone.
And of course I'd
answer your questions.
Yeah, because like all these questions I'm going to answer in these videos, I actually answered them in the Patron questions or the YouTube question stuff. I've done that, but I just want to make a video of it because other people, like any question you have, that's what I always tell people. Is look, there's no silly questions, there's no stupid questions, no bad questions, because a lot of people have those questions. And I remember, when I teach my students, when we do a project with companies, and I say, look, ask your companies, what's the 10 most asked questions? And what's the 10 stupidest questions they've had? Because the thing is, there's people that want to ask those stupid questions because they don't know. But it's not stupid because they just don't know. So ask in ways so we can help out more people.
Somebody else has that same question. And they're just not brave enough to answer it or to ask it.
So, hey, Brent, thanks for being on here, buddy. I really appreciate it. Happy holidays to you, too. Safe travels, my friend.
Can we get
back to Mark. Back to Mark's stuff. So sorry, Mark had asked that. So our kind of cutoff was like 6 to 7 hours before we start looking for flights. Michael's is 4 to 5 hour threshold for his thing.
His reasoning is really good. He says, if I'm driving, I can't be on my computer working. If I fly, I can breeze through security with pre-check. I can work for an hour in the Delta Sky Club. I can, or at the airports that have them, right? I can also work on the plane for at least an hour or so on a domestic flight. Depending on how busy I am, this can be a game changer, and I can justify the cost of flying.
Yeah, and honestly,
if you don't have me, that's great. That's exactly what you do. But I'm the driver. He's the navigator, and he does massive amounts of work. Like when we drive home to his parents or my mom's or my dad's or anything like that. I drive, and
for at least the first hour, I'm working on something.
Yeah, I usually make him wake up or keep me
awake.
Pay
attention. Focus on the
Speak to me. And at the end bit, when I'm starting to get tired and road hypnotized or whatever, but that's a good one for a lot of people, especially if you have pre-check and it cuts out a lot of time for you.
So, all right. Now, Mark, you didn't need to switch your name on there, buddy. It's okay. I know, and you know. So, another thing on here. So,
he has a question.
I know. Okay. But I was going back to Michael's thing. Yeah, and so that's one of those things when you're trying to decide on the fly. So another thing is the price. That's what he's looking at. Is like for him, his time is worth more than anything else. And I think that's one thing you really got to think about is because like if you only have a short amount of time, that's like where the guy that was looking for the 15 days, 5 cities kind of stuff. I'm like, if you're going to be if you have a 15-day trip and you're spending 3 or 4 of those days traveling, then it's only a 10-day trip maybe. Or 11-day trip, and is it worth 30% of your trip to be in a plane? And so that's one thing.
It's about prioritizing things and weighing them out, right? Pro and cons.
So, Mark Finley, your real name. Terry, say hi, Terry, your wife for me, please. Thank you guys for sending me the pictures and stuff like that. Enjoying the water bottles as well. I'm enjoying mine as well. Anyway, so Mark asked, Oh, sorry. Terry's asking if you ever have any experience with genealogical research in Europe. She's hoping to find her grandfather's parents in Karlsruhe. So, actually, I have. My mom has gotten huge into
Ridiculous into this
like
stuff, right?
yeah like
she's breathing it.
yes, like she became a member of the Daughters of American Revolution and she's got all the stuff. So this past summer she wanted to go. We have family from the Shetland Islands. And so her and I went to the Shetland Islands together. She went first we went to Edinburgh, and then she went. In Edinburgh, there's actually a place that's just for like researching your family, genealogical society. So she went there, and then from there we flew to the Shetland Islands, and we spent like a week in the Shetland Islands, almost a week in the Shetland
You
Islands.
guys were like 5 or 6 days.
Yeah, but we went around to all the little towns, and all the towns
great grumpity grumps.
Yeah, we found multiple houses. We found graves. We found where old churches were they worked in and stuff like that. Old houses they lived in. It was really a really cool experience to do. It's tough for certain family members to find things because like if they're in college where they're coming from Germany, unless you have something that links them back, it can be a bit difficult. I know like in Bremerhaven they have some information, but do as much research as you can beforehand. And because there's different ways you can do it. There's some that are like you could do like what is it?
Your mother also made contact with people before she went over. She knew and made appointments with people. Like the place in Edinburgh, she had made an appointment, and so she was really ready. You know, I'm really grateful I don't have to do that.
Yeah, you already know.
We take my kids back to the kids haven't been there yet, but we're going back to the house where 5 generations of my family were born in this house. I am the 8th generation to have slept in the house in Greece, and so our kids will be the 9th. And like I just think that that's the most phenomenal thing in the world, and I'm so grateful that I don't have to do a lot of research because it's all sitting there in one house, and that's pretty cool. But on my mother's side, I know that they've done a lot of research, and my uncle's done piles of it, and it's tracing a lot of crazy things. So getting those appointments or calling the places where you can get the research in Europe ahead of time, even if you don't have like a particular appointment, that's really helpful.
Yeah, because when she was doing this, and then it was really cool to see all the stuff. Then we got to hear other stories because like our family, like my family left, and then like their like cousin, who was the one that stayed, became like the local jerk. Basically, it was like, oh yeah, everyone hated him, but they knew our family. It was they knew our family because I mean everyone knows everyone in the Shetland Islands. They're like, oh no, your family was down in that house down the hill. They weren't good enough to be up on the hill with this guy. He was a jerk. But you were the good ones, and then you left.
He built his house up there so he could look down upon
and he had his stick, and he'd hold the stick up, and if the house like went above the stick, they couldn't build it because he was like the head guy of the island or something like that.
What a jerk.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Well,
hopefully.
now I know where you get it.
You're so funny.
I love you.
I love you too.
I know.
All right, next question we're going to look at. So, Allison Fackler had written, and Allison was talking about how she likes to travel and explore cities on foot, but I'm getting older, my arthritis is getting worse. I've noticed that there are not nearly as many benches in Europe as there are in the U.S. A heads up on benches, parks, or cafe for a cup of tea would really help in the planning. So in Europe, where I see a lot of the bench kind of stuff, you'll see it in parks and squares.
And their parks and squares are more plentiful than ours.
Yes, I mean, so they have
built
that.
For walking,
But you'll see it's like, you know, here you'll have benches in the bus stops and stuff like that. Whereas in Europe, it's more the leaning thing because they don't want people sleeping in the bus stop.
However, in Europe, I feel that people are much more apt to help someone or to give up their seat to someone who looks like they need it. We were on a tram. You know, the Lisbon number 24 tram is just
28.
Or 28. It's packed full of people all the time. And my mom and I got on, and somebody asked if she wanted her seat. And she said, no, but my daughter's pregnant. Can she sit down? And I was in those early months where you don't look pregnant, but you're completely exhausted. So I was really grateful for it. But people will get up to give you your seat. So there's that. And as far as like cafes, they're plentiful. There's always somewhere to stop and eat. I feel like you can go, you know.
Or just stop for a drink.
And so, but like most of them are going to want you to purchase something. But you know what, like, for instance, I tote that water bottle around with us, and I'll just go in and get it refilled. And usually that becomes a conversation or something, but people are really kind about if you're refilling stuff like that or whatever and just letting you sit. I've not had any kind of issues with that. So maybe when you go and you're planning your trip, look for the parks, look for the squares, because generally speaking, you're going to find somewhere to sit in those. So like map yourself around and kind of leave way for your needing to rest. Also, my dad has arthritis, and he doesn't have arthritis when he goes to Greece. And I don't know if it's the weather or Arizona. I think it's the weather. And like that man he'd go swim in the Mediterranean for like 6 hours and not even come up for air. And so maybe think about traveling to places where the weather helps that.
Yeah. All right. So next, I wanted to ask you something. We have a new shirt coming out because I know not everyone wants to wear a Wolters World logo all the time like I usually do, which is totally fine. I understand. So we have a new shirt. So we're trying to think of different themes, stuff like that. There's something that we always do. Like whenever you see us in the airport and we're like telling the kids, let's go, or we got to go. We're always like, andiamo, let's go. And andiamo is like, let's go in Italian. So here's this new shirt.
And don't be harsh on it because I did the design.
Yes, Jocelyn actually.
So don't be mean.
So if you look over here, Jocelyn actually designed that's her handwriting, her design on the shirt. So that's what we're trying to do. That's a new one out there that'll be. So be sweet to you. So those will actually be going on sale tomorrow because we have to put them up on the website, and we're not trying to do very well. So we're having our guys, our buddies working on that. So that's one thing because we're trying to find some more fun kind of stuff. So Jocelyn's been designing some cool shirts with some fun things like, comments about flight attendants and comments about those people that have the suitcases that are this big, like, oh, it'll totally fit in the overhead compartment. Like, no, dude, that's not going to fit.
I've got 12 or 13 designs. I'm just kind of one at a time working them through. But everything is sort of travel themed. And my hope, this is theoretical, don't hold me to it, but I'm hoping to have a new like t-shirt every month that's available just for fun and,
Yeah.
We'll keep extras of the old ones behind, and people can buy those too. But that's
because we're trying to find things
just a little fun.
Yeah,
to liven up the staid Wolters World.
Yeah, and I understand that. It's okay. No, I think it's cool. She's got some really cool ideas, so I'm excited for them too. So, so we'll go on to some more questions. Mr. Dan 242 is actually, if you're still on here. You had written us about a question about flying with pets and stuff like that, and I sent you a link to a blog that a person had put together for us, and we put some stuff in there as well. When you're looking at travel with your pets, one thing is you look at the size of your pet. That's going to be if you're going to fly, because now they're being more restrictive how far you're going to fly. If they'll let you take like an animal with you, or if it's like a comfort animal or stuff like that. A lot of times it just has to be a service animal. And the only two service animals that are actually guaranteed spots are actually dogs and ponies.
Shut the front door.
I know. I couldn't believe it. I read all kinds of stuff about this the other day.
Mark, I want a pony.
No, but you don't need a service animal. And
our dog's the size of a pony.
Yeah, but
take him.
No, he's not. Emotional support animals, he's too big. Well, actually, depending on what I see happening.
That's unfair.
I'm just telling you.
Emotional support animals have to be small.
No, excuse me. On flights over 9 hours, I don't even think you can have emotional support animals. I don't know. It depends on the airline. They're starting to, because there's been so many people
people are just
we're taking peacocks on there, and there are pigs on there, and all kinds of stuff. And the thing is, well, then there's there was a guy who's got like mauled by a dog because the dog got pissed off and went up. Yeah, because then they're like, oh no, it's an emotional support animal, and that's
because you just go buy the little jacket and put it on them and pretend, but you can tell a dog that's had training and a dog that has.
Well, no, but the thing is, emotional support animal doesn't need to be trained. Emotional support animal is just something you need to go. And the thing is, so many people have kind of used it as abuse.
You're my emotional support animal.
Exactly.
Does that mean I get a free seat for you?
No, you still have to pay for the seat
unless
I go underneath the seat. But one of the things with the emotional support things, there's been so many people that have kind of like not necessarily abused it, but kind of abused the whole thing. That the people that really do need them they're going to get. I see in the future there's going to be more and more restrictions, and it's going to be airlines like no service only. Because one thing I saw when we were flying back from Aruba, you'd all those college students that were flying around and going to see their parents, and they all had their little tiny dogs with them. And I mean, our oldest son's got allergies to cats, and I mean, he's almost died on a couple of flights from allergies.
We actually gave up we had been moved up to Comfort Plus, and we gave them up. There were some servicemen on the flight, which was cool. So we got to give them to a serviceman and a servicewoman and give our seats. But we had to move back 10 rows, and he was still sneezing and breaking out in hives. I mean,
and here's the thing: is if you have a serious allergy, you let them know. You let those flight attendants know right away. Like, hey, I have a serious allergy. And if you have a serious cat allergy or dog allergy or something like that, you go up to the gate agent and say, hey, I have a serious cat allergy, and this is something that, because the thing is,
as a matter of fact, it's not a bad idea to do that when you book your ticket if your allergy is really bad. Well, people with nut allergies and stuff, they can absolutely do that, because I know that they.
Because they'll take all the nuts off.
There will be no nuts on the plane.
Yeah, and what I was going to say about this with the it happens. I'm used to it. With the allergies. So here's the thing. If it's like emotional support animal or someone else's, it's not like a service. If it's a service animal, then you, the person that's allergic, has to switch onto a different flight. However, if it is an emotional support animal or just their pet, then they have to move. That's the thing, because it's like, look, because if it's a service animal, they did anything wrong. That is, they get that. But if it's emotional support, something like that, then those persons that have the emotional support animal, they have to switch to a different flight. Like, it's a free switch, but it's one of those things that, because I actually researched that, because I mean, when you see your kids like can't breathe on the plane, you get a little scared. So anyway, let's see.
Okay,
more questions from our
Andy.
Awesome people. Oh, and so Andy Harnden, whoever's on here. And he's a patron on Patreon, and he had written, and he asked, hey, any advice for proposing in a foreign country? My girlfriend and I are traveling to Istanbul, Turkey for the first time this fall, and I'm planning on popping the question there. He actually did, and she said yes. I'd give him some tips and some suggestions beforehand. But for things like that, I always say, it's like, you got to you never pack the ring. Always have the ring with you. 1. 2, make sure she's going to say yes, or he's going to say yes, because if they say no, and you ask at the beginning of the trip, it makes for a very, very awkward trip. Okay, so how'd that kind of feel?
The last day if you're not ready.
Yeah, and he actually asked the last day, and she said, yeah, she did. So just because I wrote him, because I made a video about this, we made a video together in Aruba about this, talking about how we got engaged when we were traveling and stuff like that. And so it worked out. So there's a happy ending there. They're getting married next summer.
Cool.
So hopefully I'll get a picture of them to put in the video. But that's one of those things is traveling. I think really does help you get to know each other. Part
of what you left out of this was that it was their first trip abroad together. So I'm just gonna say that can be an extremely stressful thing. The first time you go abroad with anyone new, whether it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a spouse or just anyone, your kids, friends, whatever. That first time can be really difficult. And sometimes I feel like for me personally, because we travel all the time, I am at the same time easier about it because I know what's going to happen. But at the same time, I get kind of irritated because people are like, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I'm like, you can't. Like, I know that you can't, and I want to let you make the mistakes, but I can't because I don't have the time or the money to waste doing it. So I've already made those mistakes, and I'm not going to let you do it. But I understand it, Yeah. So it's a hard thing, but that first time you go abroad with anybody, or any trip, it doesn't have to be abroad. Any trip, it's there are stresses that aren't in your normal life. So you have to think about those things a lot,
Yeah. So good one out there, God. Good. Yeah. And I'm glad it worked out for Andy. So Rita's not on here. Rita is in Norway, and I don't know if she's going to get this, but maybe she will. Rita's been one of our very first patrons. Rita's been writing me for years, forever and ever. So I just want to give her love and just send out some love to Rita. But she had written and she'd asked about, hey, I don't have any specific questions, but it's more like a wish because I really love lists.
So does Mark. Mark makes
and I think it's been a while since you made a list video. And so she had some suggestions, top 10 favorite cities in Europe. Perhaps you and Jocelyn have different favorites, which we do.
For sure.
In America, North and South America. Actually,
that's
Rita, I'm putting together the top 10 South America videos, so I'll get that out here the next month or so for you. So don't you worry about that.
And I had input on it. I don't know how much.
On that one?
Yeah,
You did?
well, we talked about that, and I
Well,
disagreed with some of your things. Of course, he overrides me, but whatever.
Well, you make your own videos. Like I tell when people are mean about my videos, I'm like, that's fantastic. Make your own videos, and then I'm sharing my opinion. You can share your opinion. We can have a good time.
It's Wolters World. I'm part of the world.
You are my world, baby. You are my world.
Anywho, yes, we definitely have different ideas about best places, but a lot of that is coming. I like this one. Top 10 for nature lovers.
Yeah.
Norway, probably.
Yeah, Norway,
Iceland.
I would say Patagonia, Costa Rica.
Brazil, Ecuador, hugely on that
Ecuador would be
list.
great. Tanzania.
Tanzania, Rwanda, because of all the hills.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot. There are
really
so many.
Places.
Not China.
So
don't get to do anything
you all on here, like you're not sending any questions up here. Send us some questions so we can
go
do some
to bed?
stuff. Because I know it's like
I know aisle or window said he had to be up at 0400, so he's...
Yeah, I'd be in bed already too. I
Yeah,
completely understand for that. Because we have one more from Mark on here I want to ask, but if you have other questions, please shoot some over here so we can answer some of those. But Mark asked me, right, Mark Finley. Right now, my wife and I are debating how much luggage to pack for a 2-week trip to Europe. I'd like to go with 1 carry-on bag each, but realistically, I think we're going to have 2 small carry-ons and 1 medium suitcase to check. Do you try to avoid checked bags, or is it one of those things that is a necessary part of traveling?
Can I answer this?
Of course you can.
Darling, there is no need for y'all to have 2 carry-ons and a check bag. There is absolutely none. We are 4 people in this family, and we go... Up until this year, we went with 2 carry-ons, and that's it. Now we're into 3 because the kids are bigger and their clothes are bigger and they take up more room. But here's the thing. We take carry-on bags, but often, especially when we're traveling abroad, we check them. Simply because it's easier. I don't have to deal with things if we've got layovers, whatever. If it's a short connection, sometimes we will carry it on for ourselves. But generally speaking, the reason we take carry-ons is because there's not a lot of space in Europe or anywhere else in the world outside of, Canada and the U.S. pretty much. Things like trains and hoisting your bags up into overhead bins and things like that. The smaller, the better. What? We've seen, that's an old question. We've seen well, praise God. I'm so glad. Because, I'm just going to go ahead and finish this for anyone else who might need it. We have a rule for the boys and for Mark. It's 5 tops, 5 bottoms, 5 socks, 5 underwear.
I threw in an extra pair of undies.
Everybody has an extra pair of underwear in their backpack. So everyone gets a backpack with books and device, whatever they have. But there's also always underwear and wipes and $10 just in case. But for me, it's a little bit different because I take dresses and I can make 5 blouses go with 3 pairs of pants and make 20 outfits out of that. So it's all about making things match everything else. If a shirt doesn't match at least 3 of the bottoms, it doesn't go in. Same thing with the pants. If you can just make a bunch of different outfits out of it, then that works.
Got that, guys?
So, pack light.
So, Mark Finley writes, so when do we get to show the Wolters around Dallas-Fort Worth? So I'm looking at maybe coming down for the travel show to go there. Because every time I've tried to go to the travel show in Chicago, there's been a huge ice storm and we couldn't go to it. So I bought tickets for it. Yeah, I bought tickets for year after year after year. And every time I can't go.
It's wasted money.
Yeah, I'm like, great, thanks. At least the kids' tickets were free. But you're like, damn it. So that's in, I think, beginning of March or the end of March. I'm not sure. So I'm looking to go around that time. So
I think it's right before spring break.
But it's not when we have spring break. Actually, I have it in here.
Yeah. He always does that song. Do y'all know this about Mark?
That I'm a wonderful person and I love my wife so much.
It's a circus song.
Living with you is a circus.
I know, living with you is a circus.
So, Mark, it looks like it's the 28th and 29th of March. So that's after.
No, it's right after.
So if we be down probably the 27th to the 30th. But probably be me and Jeff probably going down. Or would you want to go?
I'd love to go down.
So, okay. So, cool.
And I want to go see Dallas. I want to see the house. Please, I want to go to South Fork.
You
Can
do
y'all
what you
take me
gotta
to
do.
South Fork? Because I really want to do that. I don't care if it's cheesy. Michael Mon said, follow your 5 rule on my last 10-day trip to Paris and London. It worked out great. Yay! Keep the colors simple and make sure they mix and match. Absolutely. So like patterns and stuff too for, I don't know, men don't wear so many patterns as we women do probably. But yeah, just making things mix and match is really perfect. I'm glad it worked for you, Michael.
So Dave or Hop, sorry. Well, Dave. On arrival early in the morning at a destination, have you ever used a hotel using the day use app where you stay in hotel rooms during the day? What we've done, it depends. Well, not the app.
We haven't done that app.
No, but like we have done that where we go in early because some places we've gone, we'll go and drop off our bags and ask them for rooms ready. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not.
Sometimes I book for the night before.
The night before, yeah.
And then we check in at like 7 in the morning, and because I paid for the night before, they can't say no.
Yeah.
And that has saved our butts on many. When we did that in Japan, and thank God we did, because that was, the rest of them were a hot mess. So it's a really helpful thing. But we've never used the app. If you've used it, let us know how it is, because I'd like to know.
And that's one thing is when I look at it is if we're gonna get in anytime after like if we're gonna get around noon, I won't get the thing early. But if we're gonna get in like when you fly to Europe, you get in like at 6 a.m. into London or something like that, or into Frankfurt really early in the morning, or Amsterdam at like 6. Those ones I will get it the day before, just because I mean you're gonna be so wiped out because 6 a.m. there is like 10 at night here, so you're like just getting ready for bed, so you're just like, I just want to get rid of my stuff. So that's what we'll do. But never sleep more than an hour and a half. Like if you need to take that nap, just an hour and a half max. Set like multiple alarms because you will sleep through.
You know what? I've been taking this homeopathic stuff called Jet Zone. And I took that when we went to Japan. And you take it just like before and during the flight. And wow, it worked like a charm.
Yeah.
I mean, and as upside down as you are going from the States, from Central.
That was exactly 12 hours
time,
for us. Wow.
And I did amazingly well. Mr. Dan says, any airline tips? I plan pretty far ahead and pick the flights based on timing and seat reroute size, etc. Oh,
but the airlines like to change flights.
Yeah.
Even if it seems like the original flights still
if
exist.
they've got like a big plane and it's not filling up, they will switch to a smaller plane because there's less gas, etc., etc. They're not flying with a lot of empty seats. So your seat size may completely change because the plane is going to be a completely different plane. So I wouldn't base it completely upon that. I would base it more on like where in the plane you're sitting, whether you like the aisle or the window, or
and you know that
Plus.
and you always know that the exit rows, the seats aren't going to go back, and you're going to have
But
a little extra
leg
room in the front, legroom in the front. So there is that.
Yeah, but those might even change if they change from an A300 to a 757.
Yeah, and that's one of the things is usually when they change their planes, you probably going to notice that your seat has changed.
Yeah,
you need to go online right away, and be like, hey, this is what I had, and I picked this place. And the thing is, some airlines are like, well, you bought a ticket, and you got a seat. Here's a seat again. That's where we've gotten like moved around, and they're like, I'm no longer. I'll notice because I'm not in aisle C. I'm like, wait, I was C and now I'm B. B's dangerous because B's usually a middle seat on some of these flights. So I'm like, no. And I'll go online. And that's why I always follow all the airlines I fly with on Twitter. And I will like tweet them directly, but also I'll do like messages to them.
All one of them?
Well, it's all Delta now.
All the code shares.
All the code shares of Delta I use. But then the thing is, they'll get me into a seat again. They'll move me over. Like, hey, look, I picked this seat for this. And since I talked to them so much, they're like, hey, okay, we'll move you back.
Mark has developed a relationship with the Delta tweeting people.
Yes. So,
like,
not that it's good as anything.
It's not getting us anything. Well, it does get you things like that.
They're very helpful. They're very helpful that way because I think for them they just get people like that's the difference between like working on the Twitter team versus the Instagram team. The Instagram team for Delta just sees people going, "Oh, I'm all these great destinations." #SkyMiles Life. Whereas the people at Twitter at Delta are like, my plane has been canceled. I need to get home. And so they're getting all this hate.
They're doing the work.
They're doing the work.
You're really sweet.
Yeah, and I'm always very nice to them.
Sweet.
So. All right, next one up. Michael Mann. The issue that I always have is regarding shoes. I have a great walking pair, and I'm always struggling whether to bring a second pair, tennis shoes or lightweight shoes. How do you handle this? Usually, I just bring those comfortable shoes. Unless I'm going to a beach place or some warm place, then I'll throw like a pair of sandals in, and so our Osprey has like a zip bag on the or a zipper on the back. I'll just slide them in there. So or like something like this.
It's just a loafer, but it squishes pretty flat. So that works out pretty well. You know what? So as a woman, it's a little different because I don't see you, Michael, probably wearing ballet flats. But ballet flats, if you take the insert out and put in a good one, maybe Michael does. I don't know. But I take the insert out of those crappy ballet flats and I put in a decent insert from my chiropractor. And they're actually pretty good for walking around for like a good portion of a day, but they pack really, really flat. So if you notice, I wear my bulkiest shoes, pack my smallest pair of shoes. And those Osprey bags are really awesome for that because often, like, especially in Europe, our bags have like a backpack thing and I can take that out. And that's always where our shoes fit. But we do actually use that backpack harness when we're in Central America a lot. And I guess we did that in South America too a little bit. So anyway, that's the thing. You know, I always have 2 pairs of shoes. I just take small ones. So, you know.
Mark, I have not been on a Delta 220 or Airbus 220 yet. So it's a 2-3. Looks like it could be fun with the 2-3. I'll stay on the 2 side. There we go. Yeah. Let's see. Mark, Delta frustrates me. I like nonstop flights, but Delta flies to literally a total of 7 cities from Dallas, Fort Worth. Really limits me, so I usually wind up on American Girl. Yeah, our airport it used to go Delta to Atlanta and Minneapolis, but they got rid of Minneapolis, so it only goes to Atlanta. So
I don't mind that though, because I love.
She likes the Atlanta airport, yeah.
I love the.
Or we'll drive over to Indianapolis, and from Indy you go. They actually have quite a few places. Yeah, you can go straight to CDG, but most of the time you go to Detroit and then somewhere you go down to Atlanta, or you can go straight to LA. They have a few other ones. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's like you're going to get funneled through JFK, Atlanta,
Which
or
is all
Detroit.
the more reason that we should all move to the Atlanta area.
There you go.
And boiled peanuts and sweet tea.
There you go. Anyway, so usually so Mark's always ends up on American. So we actually, the town we live in, we don't go to their airport because they only have American. And I always feel American is just a lot smaller and tighter. And it might not look like this online, but I'm a bit of a bigger guy. And American planes they're not comfortable for more full-figured travelers like myself. So there is that. Anyway.
Also, I love the service on Delta. I get it's kind of stinky to stop in Atlanta every time you go anywhere, but the service can't be beat. I have been treated so well by those people that I've left planes hugging people or them hugging me just because I love them. So anyway.
All right, team. Well, we want to say thank you to all of our patrons and our channel members.
Does anyone have any last questions? Yes, Michael, wear your ballet flats. Really, do it.
Anyway.
But does anyone have any last questions before we start to sign off? Rude.
No, I'm just... Because the thing is like what we're saying right now will then show up on the live feed in about a minute. So we got to give people time.
Oh, we have to give them time.
So I'm letting them have time. Because if Michael's only noticing the ballet flat joke now...
It wasn't a joke. I was serious. I wear them all the time.
Yes, you do, actually. Not right now. You have socks on
I do have socks on.
So anyway...
Because it's cold here.
Yeah. So we do really appreciate everything you guys have done for us and the support you've shown us and all the travels and things like that. Thanks, Mark. Love you too, buddy. It really is great. Sometimes we get to bump into some of you when we travel around, which is fantastic. And answering your questions and be able to help you all travel and you helping us to help other people with all this honest travel advice. It's really awesome that you guys do that. And we just want to say thank you so much.
I love that. I really enjoyed this because there's only so many of you here and I can answer all the questions and we can make it very personal.
Yeah, it's not like rushing through because that was the thing is when we get those other ones, you'll get like 50 questions going by, then people are getting upset, like, answer my question!
Well, we have to answer quickly.
Yeah, and then you're like, you don't get a chance to really go really in depth.
And
so
Mark and I tend to digress, me more so than he.
Because I'm like, we gotta get to the next one. So... Yeah, and it's funny because we've been on for almost an hour now.
Yeah.
It does not feel. It's a very different feel. This is really nice. So
yeah, it's like hanging out with.
Thank
some
you,
friends.
everybody,
So thank you
for being our friends and
supporters.
being there with us. So we will leave you be to enjoy your December. I'll put an announcement up probably next week because I have to see what our schedule is for the end of the year. So maybe we'll do. One of our children is running upstairs, so we'll put together a time for later in December, another members only. But we'll have another live feed for like all people probably next week, I think. But for the members and the patrons and stuff like that, we'll have one probably at the end of the month. So, wish you all the best.
Think up some good questions.
Yeah, so think of some good questions. You can always post them.
Or crazy stories. I would love to hear some of your stories.
Yes.
I always feel like we're telling our stories, and I'd like to hear other people's too.
Yep. So, wish you all the best. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks,
Bye.